The number of deportations carried out by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement last month fell to the lowest monthly level on record. This as illegal border crossings remain at a 20-year high. Now, ICE deported 2,962 immigrants in April. That's a 20% decline from March, in the first time the monthly figure has dipped below 3,000. The former acting director of Customs and Border Protection, Commissioner Mark Morgan, joins us now. He's also a visiting fellow with the Heritage Foundation. Mark, great to have you with us.
Thanks, John.
All right, so we see that empty podium there where Secretary Mayorkas could step. But that could be a metaphor for the Biden administration's policies on immigration. They are MIA.
Yeah, John, look, not only do I agree, but look, I think it's also another metaphor. Look, he's intentionally at a Border Patrol facility. I saw your clip you were playing a few minutes ago talking to one of the Border Patrol leaders who I know very well. That's a facility that when it came to the unaccompanied minors, they just emptied out. But your listeners and viewers need to understand, this government is sponsoring a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
Because in Donna, Texas, where he's at right now, they literally took unaccompanied minors out of the facility right now that you're playing, took them out of that facility, walked them a couple of hundred feet to a different facility, an HHS facility, right in Donna, Texas, where they moved the unaccompanied minors to. It's a shell game. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's all part of their strategy, and they're doing nothing to actually address the crisis, John.
You took the words right out of my mouth. The shell game is exactly what it is. In fact, you issued a statement yesterday on these new deportation numbers calling out the Biden administration's failures at the borders. I keep struggling with this, Mark. I mean, there can almost be no other explanation for why they are doing this other than that they do not care about these people flooding into this country and that they hope someday they'll make them Democratic voters.
John, that's it. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't have said it better. Look, I've been serving this country for over 35 years under 6 administrations, both Republican and Democrat. From a national security, economic security standpoint for this country, what they're doing makes no other sense except exactly what you said. They see a perceived political benefit either through gaining seats in the House through the census, or by every illegal alien they give a pathway to citizenship. They believe it's going to equate to a Democratic vote. I believe this is power and politics at its worst, to the detriment of this country.
I mean, during the Obama administration, when you were working there, you could at least kind of point to the numbers at certain periods of time and say, look, there are serious questions about this administration, but when you look at their deportation numbers, I mean, he was called the deporter in chief, but there is none of that. And I wonder how much of the political blowback they got from the Obama administration's deportation tactics, they're concerned about the left bringing that back and hurting this administration.
John, I think you're right. Again, it illustrates what we've been saying since this administration took over. Some people would say, hey, look, they got caught off guard. They didn't have a strategy. I've disagreed from day one. I think they're effectively implementing their strategy pretty darn well. Look, they're creating reception centers at our front end. They're getting better at covering up their crisis and releasing people into the interior United States. And on the back end, they're creating sanctuary countries. And the numbers show that. ICE's number, it's a historic low, the lowest that I know of that's ever been on record. But that's by design. And we're now full-blown sanctuary country. But again, it's been part of their strategy since day one.
Let's turn to San Diego now. The city just pulled its plans to build a migrant tent city there just hours after the Washington Examiner reported that San Diego County was soliciting farmers for their land. Officials later said it was all a mistake, and they blamed the state of California for using the term tent city. But we're splitting hairs over semantics here when it comes to tent city, migrant detention facilities, whatever you want to call it, kids in cages, kids in bubbles. But we're really, hurting this country. Again, the failure of the administration to even go down there. They're sending Secretary Mayorkas to basically be the fall guy here.
That's exactly right. Look, you're exactly right. I'll add to that, John, is that, look, and we're also bantering back and forth and actually driving the law enforcement entities to stop using the statutory language illegal alien. Instead, it's got to be non-citizen, undocumented. That's what this administration is focused on, instead of really addressing the crisis at our southwest border. And look, Ali Mayorkas, the secretary, he's down there, so good for him. That's exactly where he needs to be. But here's what he's not doing, I guarantee you. He's not asking those Border Patrol leaders, hey, can you tell me, do walls work? He's not going to ask them that, because they're going to tell him, yes, they do. He's not going to say, hey, have we created this crisis by removing the Remain in Mexico policy? He's not going to ask him that, because the leadership is going to tell him, sir, yeah, absolutely you have. So it's just as important what he's not asking and what he's going to say as opposed to what he is going to say. Look, we're going to see more spin, more misdirection, and in my opinion, blatant lies. I'll tell you this, John, real quick. I know this is one thing he's not asking them. Hey, I know I said the borders are secure during the testimony, but guys, tell me, are the borders secure? He's not going to ask them that, John, because those leaders are going to say, sir, with all due respect, that's insane. Of course our borders are not secure.
Yeah, this is clearly a PR trip. You know, he's not in position to make these authorities. He's not the borders are. We'll see what he says when he gets back and reports to his bosses, the vice president and the president. Mark Morgan, great to see you.
You bet. Thanks, Sean.